one of the things was, would either candidate look like the caricature that the other campaign has been trying to paint of him? And at the end of the day, Joe Biden looks like the caricature that conservative media has been painting. And there were no clips tonight, right? This was, you saw it before your eyes. Look, I don't want to just tell you what I think here, Tom. I've been talking to a lot of leaders in the Democratic Party, electeds, coalition leaders. There's a full-on panic about this performance. Not like, oh, this is recoverable. It is more of a, okay, he's got to step aside. There's a lot of that chatter. This is about as bad of a performance in order to that Biden could have delivered if his goal was to try to sort of calm the waters among Democrats. I mean, look, there was one.
Fantastic. Thanks for being here. It's been a few days since I posted. My mother passed away, so we were away for the funeral, and obviously with everything that entails and all the activity, we did post some videos, but we weren't live for the last couple of days, really since Thursday. So thanks everybody for rolling up. Really appreciate everybody being here. We have got to talk about this media meltdown that is going on. They are absolutely trying to rewrite history in what they reported about a myriad of what they called back then conspiracy theories and hoaxes and everything else. As it turns out, the media has been on the wrong side of every single one of these things. Now, they've been on the wrong side by choice. This is not a mistake. This is not an oops. It's not a, ooh, we got it wrong. No, they have been the mouthpiece of the Democrat Party. They have been the propaganda arm, the Herming, the Joseph Goebbels arm, the old, German propaganda arm of the Democrat Party. They have been carrying their water on purpose, no matter what. Everything they did was a calculated effort in order to advance the progressives and the Democrats and destroy Trump and any Republican who happened to side with him. I guarantee you, no matter how much you hate the propaganda media, it is not enough. They deserve your ire, your rancor, your antipathy, your distrust, your detestation more than you can possibly know. These people are on the wrong side. They are the fake news. The propaganda media is the enemy of the people. Make no mistake about it. We're going to dive into this story, and as it dovetails into the continued lies that the media is trying to tell you about deportations. It is absolutely ludicrous. Now they're saying that the United States is deporting U.S. citizens. First, there was the Maryland man, who is not a Maryland man whatsoever. He is a citizen of El Salvador. He's not a citizen of the United States. He is not a citizen of Maryland. He's not even a resident of Maryland, not a legal one anyway. So it just dovetails what they did in the Russia collusion hoax, what they did in all of the fake hoaxes, the find people on both sides hoax, the suckers and losers hoax, that dovetailed into what they did for months hiding Joe Biden's mental decline is now just remanifesting itself in their lies about the Trump agenda, about the Trump economy, about Trump, the Trump approval ratings, about Trump deportations, all of it. Realize that it is just the same group of liars, panders, and propaganda mouthpieces that it was 2 years ago, 4 years ago, 6 years ago, 8 years ago, and on and on and on. So we're going to dive right into that. Lynn Sanger, really thanks for being here. Thanks for showing up. Glad you caught a live as well. Sorry we didn't have one a couple last week. I was just going into that. My mother died, so we had the funeral and all that as well. You can imagine all the activity surrounding it. So thanks for being here. So let's dive right into this story because Chuck Todd, the disgraceful, disgraced loser, mental midget, Chuck Todd, was on an interview where he tries to essentially gaslight the American public on his role in covering the Biden decline as well as the rest of the media. Check this out.
I follow the Hunter Biden trial very closely. Mm-hmm. I read every transcript, all the testimony, because that's what all that was made public. And And there is you want to get angry, just as somebody in just all these mixed emotions. You read the Hallie Biden transcript, and that's Bo's widow.
Yes.
And essentially he turned her into a crack addict. And this was all happening in 2017, 2018. And Joe Biden were so concerned about their family that they decided to run for president.
Yep.
So when you talk about the word selfish, it's almost like the word doesn't, their decision to run for president put the entire Democratic Party and the United States of America in the position that it's in now. I followed the Hunter Biden trial very closely.
Mm-hmm.
I read every transcript, all the testimony, because that's what all that was made public.
Sorry about that. So here he is again. This is Chuck Todd trying to do his I didn't do anything bad tour. He's out there trying to pretend with the trying to gaslight the American people that he was not responsible for any of these stories. He's talking here about the Hunter Biden story. And how, well, this thing was disgusting. Well, where were you in 2016, Chuck Todd? It's just ridiculous. Like they didn't want to cover this stuff. They didn't want to cover this stuff back then. So they didn't. They pretended it didn't exist. They pretended that, oh, no. We just now they're saying we just got it wrong, when back then they were clearly saying, no, we don't care about this. We don't care, what happened to Biden. It's all about simply getting him elected. Now check this out, because here he is trying to walk back stuff on saying that the Biden decline, the lack of a story on Biden's mental decline, it wasn't the media fault. Well, it wasn't the media. It was the Democrat Party. Check this out.
This is not a media failure. This is a failure of the Democratic Party. And I just sort of the virtue signaling that some people have done to try to say that the media missed this story. They didn't miss this story. So, David Ignatius wrote, I just refuse to accept this stupid premise, because it's a manufactured right-wing premise in order to stain the media. The media's got plenty of things to attack them for. And there are MSNBC and CNN and pundits that absolutely carried water for Joe Biden, but they're not journalists. They're former strategists that carried water for Joe Biden. The journalist, David Ignatius, wrote a very high-profile column in October of 23 saying, is he really running again? This doesn't seem like a good idea. People like me were promoting Dean Phillips's campaign because he was running
Wall Street Journal did a bunch of coverage.
Sense. So it's not like this. This isn't WMDs, where the White House worked with the mainstream media to manufacture a story that did not exist. That was a press failure.
This is absolutely that exact case. Chuck Todd, you failed loser. This is exactly the case. And it's the same thing. WMDs in Iraq is it's a carbon copy of Russia collusion. It's a carbon copy of Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation. It's a carbon copy of Biden's daughter's diary cannot be released to the public. It's a carbon copy of the suckers and losers hoax that find people on both sides. So it is a carbon copy of the lack of a story about the Biden decline. It is over and over and over again. The media tells you a story. They never tell you the story. They tell you a manufactured tale designed to advance globalist, progressive, Democrat ideals. That is it. The only time that the globalists break from the progressives, break from the Democrats, is when those those agendas do not align, and usually they do. When Bill Maher departs from the ultra woke progressive line, then suddenly the media comes out against him, because it's the globalists and the progressives coming out against somebody bucking the trend. But make no mistake about it, the globalists run this show. And yes, it is absolutely, the Biden decline was absolutely manufactured. We're going to get into that. because he talks about these. They weren't journalists. They were propaganda. Oh, so suddenly Joe Scarborough is not a journalist. He was a journalist, a week ago when he was trashing Trump. But oh, wait a minute. Now he's not a journalist. Let's keep going.
Massive press failure. This was not that failure. This is an attempt by some to virtue signal, and it's this horrible sort of pitting different news organizations against each other, when ultimately the people at fault are Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, Jill Biden, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, every elected member of Congress.
Wow. The cognitive decline, the cognitive disassociation of these media losers is just absolutely amazing. Chuck Todd thinks that any of us believe him on this nonsense. Chuck Todd, where was Chuck Todd in all of this? Capo, thanks so much for your kind words. I really appreciate that. Yeah, she was an amazing woman. My mother saw. I had to give the was honored to give the eulogy as the youngest son. I don't know why my older siblings, who are much older than me, did not take this on, but they basically put it on me, which I'm happy to do. But my mom was an amazing one. One of the most, beyond all of her character traits, but one of the things that struck me about my mother's life was she was born in 1933. So she saw World War II. She saw the advent of the automobile essentially come into mainstream. She saw the advent of commercial flight. She saw the entire technology, renovate. It's just amazing the changes that she has seen in her life. It was just reflecting on, the changes this country has been through. And the fact that our country is almost unrecognizable, the two parties from what they were 40, 50 years ago. The Democrat Party is no longer the party of anything American. They are 100% globalist. They are 98% progressive, basically socialist communist. They're about 95% woke, but nowhere in there is there any American ideal. Is there any idea of we want America to win? We want America first. No. They are all in for criminal illegal aliens. They are all in for the globalist administrative state. They are all in for that nonsense. And it is once again this story that is leading the way. It is proving the point. The propaganda media is all of that. It is simply propaganda. Chuck Todd is trying to tell you that, oh, no. This wasn't a massive media failure like it was on the weapons of mass destruction. No, that was the media co-opting with the Bush administration to give you a 20-year war in Iraq that the military-industrial complex was going to make trillions of dollars off of, that we were going to siphon trillions of dollars out of the U.S. economy. We were going to transfer it to globalist third world interests, as well as the WEF and all this other nonsense, the blob, the globalist blob, as Mike Benz so aptly monikers it, the globalist intelligence services coupled with the State Departments, coupled with the Pentagons, the DODs. This was all about that. So the media was all in on it because it destroyed America. It weakened America. It crushed the American middle class. So they were all in on it. So that was a media fabrication. The Russia collusion hoax, in order to derail the first Trump presidency, was absolutely a media collusion, a media fabrication. The first impeachment, second impeachment over the perfect phone call were media fabrications. Trump being a criminal was a media fabrication where they co-opted with the corrupt Justice Department of the Biden administration to go with lawfare against Trump. And instead of ever telling the truth about any of those ridiculous cases, they simply reported a story, not the story. Now, to give you a little bit of context, here's Joe Scarborough. Everybody remembers this clip, this little monologue on his show. But remember that Chuck Todd was at the same network. He can't even talk about the fact that he didn't know Joe Scarborough. He knew nothing about him. He can't hide behind any of that. He knew who Joe Scarborough was. He worked side beside him day by day. And did Chuck Todd, in all of his backpedaling now, ever call out Joe Scarborough for this?
But comparing that guy's mental state, I've said it for years now. He's cogent. But I undersold him when I said he was cogent. He's far beyond cogent. In fact, I think he's better than he's ever been. Intellectually, analytically, because he's been around for 50 years. And, you know, I don't know if people knew this or not. Biden used to be a hothead. Sometimes that Irishman would get in front of the reasoning. Sometimes he would say things he didn't want to say. This is, and I don't really, you know what, I don't really care. Start your tape right now, because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't handle the truth. This version of Biden, intellectually, analytically, is the best Biden ever.
The best Biden ever. And F you if you don't believe it, if you can't see it. The entire world saw with their own eyes what a train wreck Biden was. And you've got Chuck Todd at the same network as this fool. Did Chuck Todd ever say, Joe Scarborough, you're out of your mind? Joe Scarborough, we don't want to be doing this. Joe Scarborough, I've met Biden. I've talked with Biden. Joe Scarborough, we need to be soft pedaling this. No. Chuck Todd was in on the scam. And remember, the scam didn't stop here. The scam went to the media actually creating, manufacturing a story which was 100% contradictory to the story. Let's not ever forget the what we called the cheap fakes, the cheap fake collusion hoax. Here we go. Check this out. This was the media fabricating a story, Chuck Todd, that you were in on.
You've probably heard of deep fakes, but just last week, as President Biden was at the G7 summit in Italy, cheap fake clips went viral on social media and were picked up by some news outlets. Take a look at this clip, for example. It shows Biden and other world leaders watching a skydiving demonstration before the president is seen walking away and looking in another direction. Outlets claimed that he was sort of just aimlessly wandering away. The clip amassed millions of views within just a few hours, when actually if you widen out, you can see that he was talking to one of the members of the military that was participating in that demonstration.
No, he wasn't. He was talking to an invisible person, because the member of the military that he was supposedly talking to doesn't ever even look up. He doesn't acknowledge Biden's presence. He doesn't acknowledge Biden's conversation that Biden was supposedly having with him. No, Biden is babbling into the air. That's why the soldier just completely and utterly ignores him.
So how prevalent are cheap fakes, and how big of a problem will they be in this election? Well, let's take a look with executive editor of CBS News Confirmed, Rona Tarrant, who joins us now from Studio 57 to explain. Hi, Rona. It's great to see you.
Hi.
Okay, now we all know that none of these were cheap fakes. Let's dive in with our favorite. There are times. I mean, I'm so glad she's gone, but there are times that I do miss the the comedy relief that was Karine Jean-Pierre, the worst press secretary in the history of press secretaries. But here she is talking about cheap fakes, the media fabricated story.
Cheap fake is the latest buzzword the White House is using to seemingly discredit the raw, unedited footage we see of President Biden's apparent cognitive decline on full display.
They are cheap fakes video. They are done in bad faith. And some of your news organization have been very clear, have stressed that these the right-wing critics of the president have a credibility problem because of the fact checkers have repeatedly caught them pushing misinformation, disinformation. We're seeing these deep fakes, these manipulated videos, and it is, again, done in bad faith.
Since the unveiling of this word cheap fake in the press briefing room, the mainstream media is not hesitating to jump all over it, coming to the defense of the White House. But it stems from a question asked about the viral footage showing the president appearing confused during D-Day commemoration and his recent trip to Italy for the G7.
I think there is so much misinformation, disinformation, as we've been talking about. You talked about the video of the president wandering, and it's not.
there was no disinformation on that. The only disinformation came from the propaganda media, their Democrat allies, and the globalist puppet masters, because they wanted Biden to survive this. They wanted Biden in office, whom they can manipulate and control and who would do whatever they want. They did not want somebody they couldn't control, namely Donald J. Trump. None of this was edited. None of it was selectively edited. It was raw footage that showed Biden meandering around at G7 meetings, show Biden trying to sit in chairs that didn't exist at meetings, showing Biden can't get off multiple stages, having to get walked off by Biden, having to get walked off by his wife. And then, of course, there was the debate, which brought it all full circle. And then no one could hide from it anymore. Well, this is the lie that continues. It just rolls and rolls. They pick up a new mantra, a new narrative, a new story, but never the story. So we're going to dive right into this, because the current lie, obviously there's many of them, but one of the we're going to talk about today is all around the lies about Trump's immigration and deportation efforts. The latest one, because the media has lost the shiny bauble used to be Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the Maryland man, who's not a Maryland man. He's an El Salvadorian citizen who is here illegally, who is a criminal. By definition, he is in the country illegally. That makes him a criminal. So beyond that, he was confirmed by two judges and the El Salvadorian intelligence and the intelligence services of both the Trump and Biden White Houses that he was a MS-13 member. And so he was deported. But he is not a Maryland man. He is not a U.S. citizen. He is entitled to none of the things that they want. But now the latest lie, the latest fabrication, the latest A story is that now we're deporting U.S. citizens. Because obviously the public didn't buy the Kilmar Abrego Garcia thing. They looked right through it and said, yeah, he's a gangbanger. He's a terrorist. Get him out of here. And even if he's not, get him out of here. I don't care. So now they're trying to pull on the heartstrings to say, oh, no, but they're disappearing American citizens. Check this out. Check out the lies. Here we go.
Major breaking news. A federal judge raised alarm tonight that the Trump administration deported a 2-year-old American citizen to Honduras with no due process. U.S. District Judge Terry Doughty, a Trump appointee, said the child, identified in court papers by the initials VML, appeared to have been released in Honduras earlier Friday, along with her Honduran-born mother and sister, who had been detained by immigration officials earlier in the week. The judge on Friday scheduled a hearing for May 16, which he said was, quote, in the interest of dispelling our strong suspicion that the government just deported a U.S. citizen with no meaningful process. The child, who was born in New Orleans in 2023, had been with her mother and sister during a regular immigration check-in at the New Orleans Office of Immigration and Customs Enforcement on Tuesday. Now, the Trump administration...
Now, so everybody who doesn't know who this decrepit loser is, Harry Sisson is a TikTok influencer. He was a paid Biden Kamala shill during the last campaign because he's on the take, he's on the grift, he's just one of them. But he is a complete goofball who will pick up any story. But this is the one, and again, he was a paid campaign influencer by Kamala Harris, by the Kamala Harris campaign. Just so you know where he sits, he is an ultra progressive left wing nut job. And now he's sitting here saying that the U.S. government is deporting American citizens. We'll finish this out, and then we'll let Secretary Marco Rubio just destroy him.
Said in court that the mother told ICE officials that she wished to take VML with her to Honduras. The filing included a handwritten note in Spanish they claimed was written by the mother and confirmed her intent, but the judge said he had hoped to verify that information. The judge wrote, quote, the government contends that this is all okay because the mother wishes that the child could be deported with her, but the court doesn't know that. Yeah, a 2-year-old U.S. citizen.
It doesn't matter. That's the whole point. Let's check in with this is their new mantra. The Trump administration is disappearing U.S. citizens without due process. All right, we're gonna debunk this, but I want to listen to Marco Rubio, and then we'll go through all of our debunking of this, because obviously they have a double standard. If you're a child in the womb, you get new due process. you can just get unalived. You can get terminated. Your life can be forfeit without any due process in the womb. And frankly, in many states now, de facto, maybe not de jure, but de facto, even after birth. So they really don't care about any of that. This is just a story to get people off the mark. But here's Marco Rubio absolutely destroying this moron and these arguments.
Who are legally in this country were deported. The children went with their mothers. They're on the headline. That's a misleading headline. Okay, 3 U.S. citizens, ages 4, 7, and 2, were not deported. Their mothers, who are legally in this country, were deported. The children went with their mothers. If those children are U.S. citizens, they can come back into the United States if there's their father or someone here who wants to assume them. But ultimately, who was deported was their mothers who were here illegally. The children just went with their mothers. But it wasn't like, you guys make it sound like ICE agents kicked down the door and grabbed the 2-year-old and threw him on an airplane. That's misleading. Yeah. That's just not true.
Just to be clear, because I do want to...
That is 100% disinformation. That is a lie. They are lying to you. They are lying to the American people. Like I said, whatever amount of hatred and angst you have toward the propaganda media, it is not enough. They deserve the full weight of your ire, your rancor, your detestation, whatever word you want to put to it. These people are evil.
To get to the overhaul at the State Department, is it the U.S. policy to deport children, even U.S. citizens, with their families? And I hear what you're saying, without due process. Just to be very clear there.
Well, no. Again, if someone's in this country unlawfully, illegally, that person gets deported. If that person is with a 2-year-old child or has a 2-year-old child and says, I want to take my child with me, well, then you have 2 choices. You can say, yes, of course you can take your child, whether they're a citizen or not, because it's your child. Or you can say, yes, you can go, but your child must stay behind. And then your headlines would read, U.S. holding hostage 2-year-old, 4-year-old, 7-year-old while mother deported. So the parents make that choice. I imagine those 3 U.S. citizen children have fathers here in the United States. Yeah. They can stay with their father. That's up to their family to decide where the children go. Children go with their parents. Parents decide where their children go. Right. The U.S.
100%. The mothers were deported. They are illegal criminals in this country, illegal aliens. Their children, by virtue of the old law, the old policy, were granted citizenship at birth in this country. The child can stay, but the child is a minor. So you cannot rip the child out of the mother's arms. If the mother wants the child to stay in America, they can opt for that as long as there is a father or a family member who could legally take responsibility, guardianship of the child. When consenting adults decide, you know what, I'm going to move to Spain because I get a job there, and they take the child is not deported. The American government does not show up and go, oh, you can take a job in Spain, but your child, oh, no, they're a U.S. citizen. They get to go before a judge to determine if the judge allows the child to travel with you to Spain to live. No. It's utterly absurd. The mother was deported. The mother took the child with her. The child can return at any point in time as a U.S. citizen to America. They could do so as a minor if there's a sponsor who can become their guardian, or they can wait till they're an adult and come back whenever they want. They are not deported. The mother was deported. The child is simply living with the mother. This is the current lie. This is the A story. This is a story, not the story. The story is Trump is, by the letter of the law, enforcing our immigration laws and standards, and they can't stand it. Now, alongside of this, the Trump administration pulled another brilliant move because they're just running circles around these propaganda morons. And that is in the most recent move, the Trump administration has started putting up basically mugshots of criminal illegal aliens that have been arrested and deported. Check this out. the Trump administration has put up signs, basically mugshots, right in front of the White House of all the criminal illegals that have been arrested and are now being deported. And the media, the propaganda media, are absolutely losing their sugar honey iced tea over it. They are losing their collective minds. Check this out. I think this is brilliant because it just highlights what losers these people are.
White House has put up about 100 posters of what they say are unauthorized immigrants who have been arrested for violent crimes. You can see them there. They put them up on the driveway of the White House. If you look here, that's the West Wing just at the forefront, the executive mansion itself to the left. But what's particularly noteworthy about this location is it is right directly behind the positions where TV correspondents do their hits from the White House lawn. So therefore, no matter what network you're on, that includes MSNBC, if you're doing a hit from the White House right now, those pictures will be behind you. The White House doing a briefing in about a half hour about what they're doing here. Maria, your response to this image?
Absolutely brilliant. I love whoever decided this, whether this was Caroline Leavitt or this was Homan, or this was Trump himself. I don't know. It might have been Noam, DHS. This is absolutely brilliant. Let's set up these posters right behind where Caroline Leavitt or anybody else is going to stand for the positions. When any network does a hit from the White House lawn, the arrested mugshots of criminal illegals will be in the background. And so the media had no choice but to make it a story. Here we go.
So I have to say, one of the biggest challenges that we have with the deportations that we know of so far, for example, with Kilmer Abrego Garcia, we don't know if they've had due process. We don't know if, in fact, these individuals do have a rap sheet. So I would encourage those individuals that have that as a backshot to blur those people out. The job of journalism is to ensure that we are presenting the facts, that we are cross-referencing. We know that PolyFact actually checked the Trump administration because of an earlier picture that
You mean checking the facts and cross-referencing like on the Hunter Biden laptop? Like on the Russia collusion hoax, like on the suckers and losers hoax, like on the bloodbath hoax, like on the fine people on both sides hoax. I mean, let's get it straight. These quote unquote journalists do nothing of the kind. They are 100% propaganda mouthpieces. They only double check and fact check and do anything if the story potentially benefit Trump or Republicans. And then they will go out of their way to either find facts that shade it one way or the other, or absolutely create them out of whole cloth. If the story was beneficial to globalist progressives or Democrats, no such fact checking needed.
they released on Kilmer, recognizing that it was altered, that it was false, that they had placed gang signs, tattoos on him that weren't real. And so I would really...
Yes, they were. The Trump administration photoshopped the explanations of those gang sign tattoos so that people understood what they were. The gang sign tattoos on his fingers were absolutely real. Again, it is a lie. It is a lie. It is a lie. It is a lie.
The press right now, we are absolutely under attack. Our job is always to have our true north, to make sure that we're presenting balanced news, and making sure that we are not putting folks that are potentially in danger, and having that representation of those pictures in the background. We can't allow that to basically for us to carry the water of potentially innocent people.
None of these people aren't innocent. This is absolutely ridiculous. All right. And besides, let's say they are innocent of the capital crime that was listed on the sheet. They are here illegally. They're gone. Goodbye. Arrested and deported. Now you've got, along with this, you've got these knuckleheads at CNN who absolutely refuse to show it. Here we go. Again, they are telling you a story, not the story. But Trump, in their absolute brilliance, forced them to talk about the story that Trump wanted them to talk about, which is deportations again.
The Trump administration is approaching its first 100-day mark with a full court press on the issue of illegal immigration, and they really don't want you to miss it. So they subtly and tastefully deck the White House North lawn with dozens of yard signs featuring photos of people that the Trump administration claims are in the country illegally, each poster saying arrested and listing the alleged offensive with which they have been charged. CNN's working to confirm the identities and if there are actual allegations against these people. Until then, we are blurring their identity.
No, you are not working to confirm any allegations, charges, or anything else. That would have been as simple as a note to Pam Bondi or the Justice Department. Hey, can you give us a readout of the charges on each person on the White House lawn? And they probably would have had it back in 30 minutes. No. They're going to blur out the names and the pictures because they don't want you to know. They don't want to report on the fact that Joe Biden let in 20 million illegal aliens, that he didn't just let them in, he brought them in. He absolutely physically flew to other countries, picked up their criminals and their insane asylum escapees and brought them to America and paid them to be here, to destroy you, your job, your country, and your vote. And the story is coming out, and the American people are no longer buying the propaganda, dopey media talking heads. They're done. We're all done. We're the media now. These narratives don't work. They don't work like they did 8 years ago because nobody buys it. Nobody trusts the media. Everybody knows everything that comes out of their mouth is a lie. Now, we're going to switch gears here. Thanks, everybody, for rolling up. Really appreciate everybody watching. Please smash that like button. Like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like this, most importantly, share the Chris Highland Show with everybody that you know. Help us get the word out. If you know anybody who's subscribed to Courageous Media, please reach out to them. Let them know that we are over here now because I just talked to some family members of mine who watch my show and they're like, hey, you haven't posted in like months. I'm like, no, we're on the new channel now. So obviously the notifications are getting downplayed or outright canceled by YouTube. So please let everybody that you know about this channel. Let's get over there. Now, the other story I want to cover today is not really a bombshell, but it's the big news of one of the big pieces of news of the day, and that is the Canadian elections, which have gone completely sideways on, unfortunately, the Canadian people, the real Canadian people who want an actual country. Check this out.
So something is really fishy with what's going on with this election here in Canada. I was supposed to be working for Elections Canada tonight in Durham region, which is just east of Toronto. And so what my job was is when the votes are done at each polling station, they get brought to the office. I was there to make sure all the packages were sealed, all the documentation was in order, so then the votes can be tabulated and counted. Not a single vote in Durham region had been counted yet. None of them had been brought to the office yet. Then I go on my phone and I see CTV declaring the Liberals the winners. It's like, how is this even possible? Here we have, one of the biggest areas just east of the GTA, Pickering, Ajax, Whitby, Oshawa, Uxbridge. Not a single vote counted. And then, CTV says the Liberals win. And then CBC follows in that. This reeks. How is this even possible? Something's fishy. Something's not right. There's got to be some sort of...
Gee, liberals and progressives stealing an election? Who would have thought? Now, that's not the big story, but I did want to cover this. I want to cover this as we get into the Canadian election story, just because I found it extremely interesting that there are some pretty, shall I say, not corroborated, but, at least, potential views of election rigging in Canada, which I do not put, again, you've got Canada with 100% owned state media, essentially, with the Trudeau administration that has essentially rigged themselves into office. And then you've got the controlled opposition in Polyev, which you're going to cover. But we'll check out this story real quick, and then we'll dive into the fact that Carney, the Liberal, won the election, even though it should have been a walk-in for Polyev. Check this out. So here we got
Box
people.
Of votes.
Yep.
More boxes of votes. Just in their car, willy-nilly. So even at the early voting places, they send the boxes home with folks? No, So they send everybody home with a box?
They just send people home with ballots. No problem. Hey, what could go wrong? Election rigging by liberals and progressives is nothing new. It happens in every single country. But the fact of the matter is that Pierre Poilievre should have walked into the prime ministership of Canada, but he did not. Mark Carney, the WEF Davos globalist Klaus Schwab acolyte, who was advising Trudeau for the last 10 years, is now prime minister, which is very sad for Canadians and in some ways for Americans as well. Check this out.
Top two things trending today. Take a look. Canada and Canadians.
At this point, at 10:14 p.m. Eastern Time, Canadian press is declaring a Liberal government. Let's go right now.
Liberals have won in Canada again. Is everybody feeling so much better? So much better now that Pierre's lost this thing. And did he lose yesterday because of Trump's tweet? Trump puts this tweet out and says, hey, come on, be the 51st state. And Pierre, hey, you stay in your lane, Trump, right? These are already flying. Look at this. Canadian voters, socialism. Socialism. Canada, we understand you hate Trump, but where are you going to go from here? Where are you going to go with these liberals now? We can get into it and talk about your stagnant GDP growth. Look at this. This is Canada at the very, very top. This is Canada per capita growth over the last 10 years. Look at it. It's infinitesimal compared to the rest of the world. You want more of this. Or maybe you want more of this. How much crime has risen in Canada in the past 10 years? Homicide, 33%. Auto theft, 40%. Theft over $5,000, 50%. Identity theft. Look at this. Human trafficking, 210%. Extortion, 429%. We keep going. Liberal accomplishments, 2015 to 2025. Worst housing affordability ever. Skyrocketing national debt. Rampant inflation. Homelessness in 10 cities. You just keep going. Just keep going. And
Absolutely 100%.
The rest of the world's going, you guys okay over there, Canada? If not, blink your eyes so you can send us a sign. Everybody in Canada is saying, we're going to show you, America. Elbows up. We're going to show you. Check it out. America last month produced 228,000 jobs. Canada, minus 33,000. Now listen, Canada, we love you, but we're over here praying for you. You guys got years.
Exactly. Polyev 100% blew this election. I'm going to show you a little bit of his concession speech, but it went right along with what the other nonsense he's been doing basically for the last 3 months. He had the opportunity to trounce the liberals so that even election rigging that we saw up front wouldn't have mattered. Too big to rig, just like Trump did in 24. But Polyev did not get to work, and he completely blundered this whole thing. Check this out.
So I would like to congratulate Prime Minister Carney on leading this minority government. We'll have plenty of opportunity to debate and disagree, but tonight we come together as Canadians. We will do our job. Yes, we will do our job to hold the government to account. But first, we congratulate people from all political backgrounds on participating in the democratic process. And as I said, while we will do our constitutional duty of holding government to account and proposing better alternatives, we will always put Canada first as we stare down tariffs and other irresponsible threats from President Trump. Conservative.
And that is why he lost right there. That is the reason. He could have taken Trump's hardline stance against Canada in the tariffs and flipped it and simply pointed to the liberals. He could have said, Trump's tariff in Canada because of Trudeau, because of Carney. Carney was the guy who was consulting with Trudeau. He was the one who was advising him. And you want Mark Carney, a WEF Davos Klaus Schmidt moron in office. You want Trudeau 2.0. The reason we are in this problem, the reason we have this fight with Trump is because of the liberals. I will stand up to Trump, but I agree with this, that he could have turned this thing on its ear and he didn't. PBD had an excellent discourse with Viva Free, who now lives in America, but he's a Canadian citizen. And he had it absolutely right. Check this out, because this was a failure of Polyev. Now, whether Poilievre is just lazy, whether he's just dumb, whether he's both, or whether he was never more than controlled opposition, like the old Republican Party, because the Uniparty, the libs, the aristocrat tyranny, global tyrants love the idea of opposition that is controlled. It's not really opposition. It just looks like opposition. So we can pit two groups of people against each other, and they never embrace populism. Check this out.
Here's what's funny. Think about who, as a world leader, has a shittier resume than him and a worse approval rating. The fact that people are done with him. Mm-hmm. And even with that, Pierre Poilievre couldn't beat him.
That's what's the sad part.
Well, you know why it's not sad? Because every time we invited Pierre, arrogant, pompous team, the only podcast he ever did is Jordan Peterson. So let me get this straight. You saw Milei win because he went everywhere. You saw Bukele win, he went everywhere. You saw Trump win because he went everywhere. You saw Bobby win because he went everywhere. You saw Vivek become a superstar because he went everywhere. And you don't, you deserve losing. And you didn't win. And I said that to Canadians who love him. The candidate you adore and admire and love doesn't want to work. God forbid he has to.
He's absolutely right. He was invited on Rogan, on PBD, on Megyn Kelly, on Theo Vaughn. He could have gone to all of them. He could have gone to Bongino before he accepted the FBI head. He could have been in front of millions and millions and millions of people on Twitter, on YouTube. Even though they can't get some of this stuff on Instagram in Canada, he could have reached out to almost every single Canadian and gotten his message across. But he didn't do it. He didn't want to put in the work. And at the same time, he wanted to give the libs in Canada a different enemy other than Trudeau. He actually walked this election right into Mark Carney's hands.
Cross the border and go talk to other borders to bring attention. God forbid, too much travel time. He's got to eat his apple. He's got to eat his apple because he's got to get his apple in his system. Go to New York, do a damn podcast outside of Jordan Peterson. Go do Joe Rogan's podcast. Go to some other podcast and talk to Lex. Go talk to whatever these other podcasts are. Go talk to Andrew Schultz down the street from you in New York. And you lost to Justin. You couldn't beat him. That's embarrassing. So that's the part also, Vinny, where the opposition is so arrogant and confident that they're going to win that they lose. How many clips did we see of Pierre going viral?
A bunch. Oh.
Rob, just go type in his name and go on YouTube, Rob, and type in his name if you could. Just type in YouTube, Pierre Poilievre. It's very easy to spell. Pierre, Pierre. There. Just go to that one. And then go to filters and go to views. Okay? Go to filters and go to views. Just play, what is that one? Response to questions about Canadian sovereignty. Yeah. Maybe go to one that has to do with Trudeau. Right there. Play the second one. Watch this. Watch this.
This is the debate.
Can you
by this wacko prime minister.
Go back a little bit, Rob.
An end to this wacko policy by this wacko prime minister.
No. I'm going to ask the Honourable Leader of the Opposition to withdraw that term, which is not considered parliamentary.
Mr. Speaker, I replace wacko with extremist. He is an
The Honourable Member to please, I'm going to ask the Leader of the Opposition once again to just withdraw that comment, please.
I'll replace it with radical fascist policy.
I am not asking to replace. I'm asking the Honourable Member to just simply withdraw.
Mr. Speaker, I replace the word wacko with extremist.
I'm going to ask the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Go back. You get the idea, right? Go back a little. Let's go to another one, okay, to see how talented this guy is. Go to this next one. Projo taxpayer funded. Okay, play this one here, Rob.
I'd like to welcome the Prime Minister back from his $80,000 vacation, which he got for free. He said, like most Canadians, friends welcomed him for that vacation. He took not one, but two private jets paid for by the taxpayer. Burning 100 tons of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere.
Go back, Rob. So now go all the way to the top if you could, and just type in podcast next to him. And do me a favor, eliminate his first name, just put Poilievre Podcast, and go to filters and go to views. And let's see what podcast he's done. Okay, zoom in. 18? So Jordan Peterson, 2 months ago, 5 million. He needs to do that once every other month. Okay, go keep going, Laura. Specific to podcast.
All right, so I want to jump ahead because he also talks to Viva Free about what Poilievre did in terms of, his campaign in general. Check this out.
His response, if you can pull that up, so for me, I'm watching this whole thing taking place, going back and forth. This guy Pierre needs to absolutely win by a mile. If you have the tweet towards Canadians, you should have it somewhere there, Rob. When was it? When you go a little bit lower, see if you find it. If not, you don't see it. Man, he's pretty active nowadays.
Dude, he's not stuck.
Okay, well, go to Pierre's tweet. Okay, go to Pierre's tweet. Go to Pierre's tweet. Okay? If you go to Pierre's tweet, is this it? President Trump, stay out of our election. The only people who will decide the future of Canada are Canadians at the ballot box. They didn't show up. Canada will always be proud, sovereign, and independent, and we will never be the 51st state. Today, Canadians can vote for change so we can strengthen our country, stand on our own 2 feet, and stand up to America from a position of strength. Go to my tweet, Rob, and just to have some fun with this one here, this is what I said to Canadians last night, 6 hours or 12 hours before they were about to go out there and vote. Can you go to that one right there? I mean, I even tagged them purely out of respect. Yeah. Canada, I certainly hope your candidate, Pierre Poilievre, did everything in his power to win for you. I hope you held him accountable. I hope you drove him to earn his victory instead of being entitled to one. I hope he and his team reached out to Tucker, Nelk, Rogan, Theo Von, Megyn Kelly, Sean Ryan, Bill Maher, Lex Friedman, and others to get his message heard. I certainly hope your fear of the liberal media in Canada didn't bully you from campaigning the old-fashioned way. I hope this doesn't become the most embarrassing loss a conservative candidate has suffered following a disastrous Trudeau administration. If he loses to Carney after being ahead by a mile on Polymarket just 90 days ago, this may go down as the most pathetic loss of all time. Your beautiful country and amazing people needed their hero to work his ass off. I'm not sure he did. I certainly hope I'm wrong and he wins. But future looks bright for those who campaign like their country counted on them. Go a little lower. Here's John Shahidi. Go a little bit lower on that tweet in the comment section. John Shahidi, who runs Nelk, he runs Full Send, he runs Happy Dad. Wow. He says, I tried to support by connecting Nelk, Theo, and they ignored. You mean to tell me you said no to Theo? Do you know how much we would have sent the lighter side of you, the fun side of you with Theo? Do you know what would have happened if you gone to Nelk? They have connections in Canada, and you said no to it? Now, Viva, everybody I talk to, this is the shit I hear. I hear people say, you don't understand Canadian politics. Probably so. You don't understand how things are. You don't understand how the liberal media, they're so dirty over here. And what they're going to do is if he goes on all those things, all they're going to do is this. This is all Trump's fault. If Trump wouldn't have brought up the 51st state, he would have won by landslide. This whole thing happened because of Trump. It is all Trump's fault. It is all. If I hear one more Canadian blame this loss on Trump, I am so sick and tired of this victimhood mentality of blaming everything on Trump. There is this one, what do you call it, I saw, Rob. There's this one meme I saw. I'm sending it to you right now. If you see it on your phone, if you can pull it up. This meme explains so many of the voters that want to blame every single...
So there's
their
perspective,
please.
Propagandized. And I don't even think they understand it. And I think we've seen the results of that. But the fact that he would turn down or not go on certain podcasts... Because people are saying, well, what good would it do to go on an American podcast? The media in Canada is just going to use it against him, say he's Trump-esque. And it's like, they're doing it anyhow. No matter what he does, no matter how much he tries to trash Trump, they do it anyhow. They called him mini-Trump. They drew parallels between his campaign and Trump's campaign. And I said, you want to get the eyes of the world on the issues of Canada, much like what happened in Romania, where Călin Georgescu gets, disqualified. They annul the election. And you say, well, don't get American politics involved in it because, it's none of their business. That's how you put things on international blast. And that's how you get into the mainstream and bypass the...
Exactly. Get it on international blast. Get it out there. Get everybody understanding. He should have buddied up to Trump. Basically what he did is he trashed Trump. So he pissed off, half of the conservatives on his side anyway. And then they didn't show up to vote. And at the same time, he emboldened the libs. What he should have done was said, Trump's absolutely right. If we keep going the way we're going, we should be the 51st state, but we're here for change. And I am here for Canada first. I will make sure we have strong agreements with the Trump White House, with America. He should have gone down and met with Trump. And he could have opposed Trump. He said, look, I don't want us to be the 51st state. And Trump could have said, you know what? We don't really need that either. What we need basically a combined economy, a combined currency. Let's get rid of all the tariffs. He could have started that relationship and negotiation to everybody's benefit and turned everything against Carney. He could have said Carney is WEF, Carney is Davos, Carney is Trudeau. The reason that Trump is coming down on Canada is because of Carney, because of Trudeau. He could have turned everything and made the liberals and the Trudeauites the enemy. Instead, he made Trump the enemy, which basically gave Carney and the libs somebody to focus on, not themselves. Poilievre blew this election. Whether he did it on purpose because he's controlled opposition or not, I don't know. But he absolutely blew this. And it's sad. It's sad for my friends, my family. I have a cousin who's in Canada. I wanted so much better for them, but it's only going to get worse now for a while. Maybe we'll see Alberta succeed. That would be great. Alberta can come be part of America. We'll take you. Anyway, thanks so much for rolling up. Really appreciate everybody being here. Thanks so much. Please smash that like button. Like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, please share a Chris Highland show with everybody that you know. Remember, God is good and he is sovereign. It'll all be good in the end. Till I catch you next time.